So let's get into the nitty gritty here. I became aware of you from a tweet,
Hmm.
and in the tweet you said you're a Christian conservative Republican and you support HBCUs.
Hmm.
Now you gave a little context of BCU pretty much following you everywhere you went, but why is it that you're a Christian conservative Republican that supports HBCUs?
Sure. Well, let's break those words down first. Okay, so I put them in that context because I put them in that order, and I actually got that from former Vice President Mike Pence. He said I'm a Christian conservative Republican in that order, and so I like that because when I start with Christian, Christian beats the other two, right? So if you came to me and said, John, I don't know that you're a person of faith. I don't mean to put that on you, but if you were to say, hey, John, as a person of faith, I believe this is important. We need to work on this. Well, it doesn't matter what someone's political party is, or if they're a liberal or they're Democrat or whatever. If they're Christian, that's the first alignment. That alignment beats the other alignment. So what starts me out as far as what I'm trying to do with my life is my Christian faith. So then you move on to conservative. And so to me, conservatism has to deal with like ideological kind of views. And so like if you came to me and said, hey John, I've got a young family member and they just want some advice on how to have a life and have a successful life, what advice do you have for them? Well, I'm going to give them advice just like I would give to my daughters, and they're going to be conservative, right? I'm going to say things like, well, get as much education as you can, have as little debt as possible, get married and then have kids, like in that order, right? And I don't say those things like to be judgy. I'm trying to say those things as to help give the best counsel I can from my life experience. I've seen people have very hard life and I've seen people have easier life. All life can be hard, but what advice can I give to somebody that can help them live the best life? And that advice is going to be conservative. Be conservative with your money, all the kind of things I'm going to say. And then the third thing with being Republican, well, Republican versus Democrat, those are policies, right? Those are policy issues. Like I'm a Republican because if I look at policy, I align very strongly with Republican policy issues, right? So if I meet somebody and they say, hey, John, there's one issue, like, let's just pick one. Hey, I want the tax rate to be high as possible. I want as big as government possible. I'm like, hey, like you should vote Democrat. I want smaller government. I want more freedom. I want lower taxes, right? So that's a policy issue. That's not a faith issue or an ideological issue. That's a policy issue. But I put them in that order because that's the order of importance to me, right? Not everybody puts them in that order. And I don't like it when people confuse issues, right? Like, can you be a Democrat and be a patriot? Absolutely. Do I meet Republicans that are racist? I don't. All the Republicans I know are good people. They're not racist. Like, you can be wealthy and pay a lot of taxes. Like, so people start switching things around. Like, to say, oh, that person's a Republican, they must be a racist. That is a very inappropriate, untrue thing to say. And people say that because they're trying to get political support, not necessarily support, and I think kind of in a healthy way. Does that make sense? Or like somebody might say, oh, well, you can't be a Christian and be a Democrat. And I'm like, well, my mom's a Democrat and she's a Christian, so I disagree with that. And I have been with, members of Congress who are Democrats in worship services. I know lots of Democrats that are Christians. So I don't think that's fair, that labeling, but I'm trying to also kind of give it context. Now, if you make the jump over to HBCUs, my life experience with HBCUs has been very, very strong. I believe they play a critical role in our nation. And I think there's a lot of alignment. And when I think about real issues our nation's facing, real issues, not hot issues people love to talk about, but actual core issues that we're dealing with, and we can talk about those. I believe HBCUs can play a critical role in solving those problems.